All right. Good morning, lovely people. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, nice. Can you see my screen? Double win. Good stuff. Welcome, everyone. It's great to have you. Great to have you if this is your first time at One Church or if this is your 101st time at One Church. And a big warm welcome to anyone joining us online. It's great to have the wider community with us. Warm is a little bit the word of the season, unfortunately. It is quite warm in here, so do just make sure that you're hydrated, keeping refreshed. If you need to grab water, if you need to grab tea, coffee, other drinks, I think there's milk. Whatever you need, feel free. This is an open invitation. This is your service this morning. I'm Sarah, and I'm very pleased to be leading this morning. I'm going to be joined in a bit by Leanne and by a fab panel of community members who are going to be talking about their faith journeys. This is a part of our ongoing series, God in the Transitions, and this is really where we're exploring life's journeys, everything that life throws at us, the ups, downs, the messy middles, and where we find God in it. It's been a really beautiful series, actually. We've had an opportunity to explore all sorts of different themes. We've looked at families, we've looked at parenting, we've looked at school, adolescence, and now, very apt, we are turning to faith. So I'm hoping it'll be a really beautiful exploration of our beliefs, relationship with God, relationship with faith community. So let me talk us through another transition metaphor, our service journey. So our service journey, this is just what we're going to do today, and we know that some people like to see a bit of a plan from the start, so this is just a bit of a blow-by-blow of what we'll be up to. We're doing the welcome at the moment. You're doing very well. Then we're going to start with an opening prayer or liturgy. This is just a chance really for us to come together, to set an intention, to sit as a community as we start the service. And then I'll be passing over to Lydia and the band for some great singing. We'll then have a bit of reflection. This is an opportunity for participation, if you want. If that sounds like your idea of hell, that is fine. I know I've been there. So feel free to look wistfully into space, to grab a coffee, to go to the loo. You'll also see on your left, we have got a series of paper, pens. We're going to be doing a kind of Model B service, which sounds to me a lot like Henry Ford's Model T cars, but literally just means that there's not going to be a specific kids and youth activity today. They're going to be joining us. They'll be in the service with us. So as I say, any kids, any big kids who want to get involved in that, please just do go and find your pens, paper, creative stuff over to the left there. Then we'll have some more songs. I'll give the notices, always the best part of the service, and then a few little readings on faith transitions. And we will be over to our wonderful panel to discuss faith transitions, their journeys in faith. And then finally, I think there'll be some singing and maybe a closing liturgy if you're lucky. But first, let's come to our opening liturgy. This is just an opportunity, as I say, to come together as a faith community, to set some intentions, to meet whatever our weeks have been like, whether they've been full, rather emptier, relaxed, stressful, energetic, joyful, whatever it's been, it's just to come together and to recognize that we are here in the space together. So I invite you all just to feel your feet firmly on the ground, maybe to feel your backs against the chairs, your sitting bones against the seats, to breathe in, to breathe out, to recognize where we are. I invite you to join me in the words in white. I'll say the words in orange. We are the body of Christ, justice-seeking, bread-breaking, hymn-singing, risk-taking body of Christ. Baptized by one Spirit, we are members of one body, many and varied in culture, sexuality, age, class, and ability. Oh, sorry. We are members of Christ's beautiful body. None of us can say to another, I have no need of you. For together, we find wholeness. Should we do that again? For only together can we find wholeness. None of us can say to another, I will not care for you. For we are connected like muscle and bone. If one suffers, we all suffer. If one rejoices, we all rejoice. Come in, all are welcome. Come in to worship. Come with your longings, your questions, and your fears. Come with all your dreams of a better day, one with dignity and justice for all. Thanks be to God, who in Christ has made us one. Let us worship God. Alleluia. Alleluia. Thank you very much, guys. I'll pass over to the band.
Good morning, everybody. We're going to start with a few songs. So if you would like to and are able to, let's stand together. And we're doing a few retro songs because it's Faith Journey, so recognise some from different decades. I danced in the morning when the world has begun. I danced in the moon and the stars and the sun. I came down from heaven and I danced on the earth. In Bethlehem I had my birth. Dance then wherever you may be. I am the Lord of the dance, said he, and I'll lead you all wherever you may be, and I'll lead you all in the dance, said he. I danced for the scribe and the Pharisees, but they would not dance and they would not follow me. I danced for the fishermen of James and John. They came with me and the dance went on. Dance then wherever you may be. I am the Lord of the dance, said he, and I'll lead you all wherever you may be, and I'll lead you all in the dance, said he. I danced on the folly and the scars on the back. I had to dance with the devil on your back. They buried my body and they thought I'd gone, but I am the dance and I still go on. Dance then wherever you may be. I am the Lord of the dance, said he, and I'll lead you all wherever you may be, and I'll lead you all in the dance, said he. They cut me down and I left up high. I am a life that will never, never die. I live in you if you live in me. I am the Lord of the dance, said he. Dance then wherever you may be. I am the Lord of the dance, said he, and I'll lead you all wherever you may be, and I'll lead you all in the dance, said he. And higher than the mountains that I face, and stronger than the power of the grave, and constant in the trial and the change. One thing remains. One thing remains. Your love never fails, it never gives up, it never runs out on me. Your love never fails, it never gives up, it never runs out on me. Your love never fails, it never gives up, it never runs out on me. Your love. love never fails, it never gives up, it never runs out on me. Your love never fails, it never gives up, it never runs out on me. Your love never fails, it never gives up, it never runs out on me. Your love. And in death, in life, I'm confident and covered by the power of your great love. My debt is paid, there's nothing that can separate my heart from your great love. In death, in life, I'm confident and covered by the power of your great love. My debt is paid, there's nothing that can separate my heart from your great love. Your love never fails, it never gives up, it never runs out on me. Your love never fails, it never gives up, it never runs out on me. Your love never fails, it never gives up, it never runs out on me. Your love. And again. Oh, your love never fails, it never gives up, it never runs out on me. Your love never fails, it never gives up, it never runs out on me. Your love never fails, it never gives up, it never runs out on me. Your love. Blessed are the ones who do not bury all the broken pieces of their heart. Blessed are the tears of all the weary, pouring like a sky of falling stars. Blessed are the wounded ones in mourning, brave enough to show the Lord their scars. Blessed are the hearts that are not hidden, open to the healing touch of God. The kingdom is yours. The kingdom is yours. Hold on a little more. This is not the end. Hope is in the Lord. Keep your eyes on Him. And blessed are the ones who walk in kindness, even in the face of great abuse. And blessed are the deeds that go unnoticed, serving with unguarded gratitude. Blessed are the ones who fight for justice, longing for the coming day of peace. Blessed is the soul that thirsts for righteousness, blessed are the ones who suffer violence and still have strength to love their enemies. Oh, blessed is the path of those who persevere, though they fall and never know defeat. The kingdom is yours. The kingdom is yours. Hold on a little more. This is not the end. Hope is in the Lord. Keep your eyes on Him. The kingdom is yours. The kingdom is yours. Hold on a little more. This is not the end. Hope is in the Lord. Keep your eyes on Him. Hold on a little more. This is not the end. Hope is in the Lord. Keep your eyes on Him.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Yeah. I always love Lord of the Dance because I think it tells me a little bit about my own faith transition. It was the first hymn that I learned in primary school as a little 4-year-old, and it's really stuck with me. It's been a real favorite ever since. But I also think not only that, it's something that really kind of shows us Jesus' life, Jesus' own transitions through life, from childhood, adolescence to adulthood, and the people that follow him. So beautiful stuff. Right, now we've got time for a little bit of participation. Ooh. As I say, anybody that hates this idea, please feel free to go to the loo, look out the window, grab a drink at this point. We usually do a little bit of a question and answer, and we speak to our neighbour. And this is a great opportunity to get to know each other. This is also really the motivation behind this God in the Transition series. But I thought we'd sort of shake it up a little bit this week. And I've got a bit of a reflection of two halves. So the first, I'm going to read out a few statements, and then I'd love your help. I'd love you to raise your hand. If you really agree with the statement, put your hand up really high. If you're kind of middly, sort of agree, then maybe it's here. If you mainly disagree, then maybe it's here. And actually, if you really hate that, then just keep your hand lowered. And I will come round, and anybody who wants to talk is very welcome to. So let's kick us off. We're going to start with a few fun ones. Can you see my screen? Yes. Okay, so the first one, I know what my favorite color is. So hands straight up if you completely agree, middly if you're somewhere else. All right, I've got a few hands. Does someone want to tell me what their favorite color is? Okay. What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Blue, lovely favorite color. Anybody else? Anne, would you like to tell me what your favorite color is?
Red.
We had a red. Good stuff. I think some famous favorite colors. And then maybe finally Justin. Let me come round. Favorite colors from Justin?
I've got two, but one's already been said, but it's kind of aqua, and the other one's red because my bike's because my bike's red.
Because your bike's red. Okay, so were you firmly hand up in the air, or were you somewhere middly?
Yeah, I mean, aqua blue historically, but red.
So there's been a bit of transition, is what we're getting to. Good stuff. Okay, so a lot of us do know what our favorite colors are, but there is a little bit of variation. Let's kick it up a notch. Okay, my favorite color today is the same as it was a year ago. Again, hand right up if you completely agree. Middly if you're somewhere in between. Oh, I can see lots of hands. I can see lots of hands raised. I can see some middly. Does somebody middly want to tell me why they're middly? Ali, would you like to tell me?
It's green, but I'm not sure. I don't know. It's green. It is green.
Unsure.
Yeah, it is green. I should have been up there, really. But I don't always wear it. I think I just like being in it, being in green.
I also think it's sometimes like colours for a season, right? You kind of go through stages. This really feels nice, and then you're kind of on to the next thing. Does anybody kind of middly that wants to tell me about their feelings, their thoughts? All right. Okay. Let's move on to the next statement. So we're going to focus now on our beliefs, how they change, how they evolve. The statement, I remember the last time I changed my mind about something important. Hands right up if you completely agree. Hands middly if you're somewhere else. This is a bit of a harder one. Maybe I give us a few seconds just to think about it. Some of you were straight up there, really convinced. You know exactly. Would anyone like to share? Would anyone like to share their thinking? Okay, just coming around.
I was just saying to my mum, I hope I wasn't picked because it's quite pretentious, and which is what we all want to hear on a Sunday morning. No, it's actually to do with religion. And I was reading a book by Richard Rohr, who everyone's been going on about for ages, and I had no idea who he was. So I went to Waterstones and I bought one of his books, and he was talking about, it's called The Universal Christ. It's talking about like creation and recreation and things like that. And it was a whole other idea that I hadn't really considered before, which I found really, really interesting. So yeah, I changed my mind a bit.
Thank you so much for sharing. What a great thematic example. Any other thoughts? I remember the last time I changed my mind about something important. Let me just come round.
Hello, I'm not actually going to share what it was because none of you, you don't know me, it doesn't matter. But what I mean is, you said, give yourself a second, but some people's hands went straight up. And then I can't remember your name, but we turned to each other and said, if you know, you know. So that's why we both put our hand up straight away. So I think if you know, you know, and you would put your hand up straight away.
Totally. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Of course, you don't have to share it. This is really about the transition, the process, rather than the belief itself. Okay, I think we've got one final one, and then maybe an opportunity to chat to your neighbour for 2 seconds. The final statement. I prefer knowing something straight away, so just knowing it immediately, knowing that logically it's correct, or knowing that you just firmly stand to it, rather than exploring it over time. Neither is right or wrong. But hand right up in the air if you're knowing something straight away, team knowing straight away. Hand down if your team explore it over time. This is a lot more discussion, I think. This is a lot more discussion. We've got some middlies, but I'm sensing them more towards the bottom than they are towards the top. All right. Does anyone want to share? Bella, would you like to share?
Not to undermine the whole idea of the thing, is it a bit of a false dichotomy? Like some things we know straight away, but there's beauty in exploring it over time.
I love that. Applause from the audience. I love that. Yes, no, by all means, challenge. Absolutely. Definitely. And sometimes we may feel that actually something's really obvious, we've come to the answer immediately, and then over time we're kind of chewing on it, and then more things come to the surface. We may not even change our mind about it. It might just be the depth of understanding that we have. Any other thoughts on this, knowing something straight away versus exploring over time? All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Do we have time for a little chit-chat? Yeah, we've got time for a chit-chat. Lovely. We've got time for a chit-chat. Okay, so I would like you, if you're so inclined, to turn to your neighbour, maybe find someone you've not chatted to before you don't know, and ask each other, when did you last change your mind, and why, and how did it make you feel? And you don't need to share what you changed your mind about necessarily, but you could choose to. It could be something big, it could be something small, it could be something just that immediately pops into your head. But maybe I'll give you guys 2 minutes, and then we come back. Lovely people. All right. Sounds like there's some great conversations going on. Leanne and I were just talking about changing your mind as a result of hearing different people's stories and experiences and finding that, because so often we have beliefs that sort of stack up against each other, so we have kind of collections of beliefs, and feeling surprised, actually, that one belief that perhaps you might feel would fit into this one collection sort of feels like it's kind of standing out, maybe diverting a little bit from that collection. But how enriching that experience is. Is there anything that anyone would like to share? Anything that came up? Or we're all shared out. All right, no worries. I think I'm going to pass back to the band.
Yeah, if you would like to stand, then let's do that. And we're again going to sing a few songs that sort of span a few decades, span a few journeys, maybe. No, I've not done the right timing there, I don't think, have I? Praise to the Lord, the Almighty, the King of creation. Oh, my soul, praise him, for he is my health and salvation. All ye who hear, now to his temple draw near. Praise him in glad adoration. And praise to the Lord, who o'er all things so wondrously reigneth. Shelters thee under his wings, yet so gently sustaineth. Hast thou not seen how thy desires have been granted in what he ordaineth? Praise to the Lord, who doth prosper thy work and defend thee. Surely his goodness and mercy here daily attend thee. And ponder anew what the Almighty can do, if with his love he befriend thee. And praise to the Lord, who when tempests their warfare are waging, who when the elements madly around thee are raging, biddeth them cease, turneth their fury to peace, whirlwinds and waters assuaging. And praise to the Lord, oh let all things within me adore him. And all that hath life and breath come now with praises before him. And let the amen sound from his people again, gladly for all we adore him.
No place we'd rather be. No place we'd rather be. No place we'd rather be than here in your love, here in your love. No place we'd rather be. No place we'd rather be. No place we'd rather be than here in your love, here in your love. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. No place we'd rather be. No place we'd rather be. No place we'd rather be than here in your love, here in your love. No place we'd rather be. No place we'd rather be. No place we'd rather be than here in your love, here in your love. No place we'd rather be. No place we'd rather be. No place we'd rather be than here in your love, here in your love. No place we'd rather be. No place we'd rather be. No place we'd rather be than here in your love, here in your love. I wanna know you, Lord, like I know a friend. I wanna know you, Lord. I wanna know you, Lord, like I know a friend. I wanna know you, Lord. So I'm laying down, oh my religion. I'm laying down, I wanna know you, Lord. I'm laying down, oh my religion. I'm laying down, I wanna know you, Lord. Oh, I used to think that I could box you in, but I'm laying down, I wanna know you, Lord. Oh, I used to think that I could box you in, but I'm laying down, I wanna know you, Lord. Lord, I've been told to be ashamed. Lord, I've been told I don't measure up. Lord, I've been told I'm not good enough, but you're here with me. I reach out and you find me in the dark, and you say no amount of untruth can separate us. I reach out and you find me in the dark, and say no amount of untruth can separate us. I'm laying down, I'm laying down, oh my religion. I'm laying down, I wanna know you, Lord. I'm laying down, oh my religion. I'm laying down, I wanna know you, Lord. Oh, I will rejoice in the simple gospel. I will rejoice in you, Lord. I will rejoice in the simple gospel. I will rejoice in you, Lord.
Lovely. Thank you so much, guys. Great to have such a mix of old and new hymns, all really for me kind of coming back to that central theme of journeying with and relating to God. So we're just about to invite our panel on, which I think will be really cool. Nice to hear their experiences of faith transition. But before we do, there's one or two things, readings and notices that I'd like to walk us through. And we also have an important transition coming up for a member of our community that we'd like to acknowledge. I wonder, Leanne, if you're there. Lydia, our band lead, is moving to London very shortly, and so will, if not be leaving us, then be less regularly attending. So we just wanted to say huge thank you. What beautiful songs, and what a beautiful part of the community you are. Thank you. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Okay. So I've got now a few different reflective pieces just to get us in the zone on faith transitions. I'm going to start with... Oh, am I doing the notices first? Oh, fine. Give me 2 seconds. I will skip right through. Avert your eyes. There we go. Wonderful. Okay, so we've got some notices. Immediately after this service, we've got the community meal. This is something that happens once a month. With people who are unhoused or vulnerably housed or could otherwise just do with a bit of company, a bit of a meal. We're always looking for volunteers. It's a really nice experience. It's great just to get together and to cook some food, to eat some food, and to sit and get to know all sorts of members of our community. So do stick around if that's for you. It's going to be just out here in the back immediately after today's service. The next thing, we have got David Gate, who I am told is a very exciting poet and creative, coming to speak to us on Friday the 4th. We also have a cat in the building, just behind. There you go. Somebody maybe make sure that they're okay. So David Gate, the poet, is coming to speak to us on Friday the 4th. It'll be great. We always have a whole range of different creatives coming to speak and perform for the community. Do just scan the QR code there or see the Look weekly email if you want more information on that. The next monthly walk, so every month we try to have walks, is also then immediately after David Gate. It's on Saturday, the 5th of September, and will be led, I believe, by Michael. They're always lovely. It's a great opportunity to get to know people, to get to know parts of our community, to explore different parts of Brighton. So we'll be going up Ditchling Beacon, and information on where to meet and the times and the length of the walk, again, in Look. Or do go and find Michael if he's around. And then finally, you might have also seen that we are trying out a new almanac. So almanac is a new word for me, but I understand it means a newsletter or a sort of collage piece which looks at seasonal shifts. Is that right, Leanne? Yeah, go on, let's go with that. So what we'll be doing is this once a quarter, once every 3 months, and we'll be looking at different seasons of life in the community, life in Brighton. We welcome all sorts of different submissions, creative submissions, written, art, photos. I'm riffing, really. But do go speak to Leanne. Email Leanne at the email address on the screen if you'd like to get involved. I think it'll be really beautiful. Okay, and I'm going to skip right back to our different reflective pieces. I'm going to start with a video, I think, and everybody pray for the sound of the video. Can you hear that? I don't think we can hear, can we? No, we're going and we're not playing.
Saul didn't believe that Jesus was God's son. He was on his way to Damascus to arrest and kill some of Jesus' followers. Whilst he was on the road, a heavenly spotlight suddenly shone on him, and he heard a voice. "Saul, Saul, why have you got it in for me?" "Who are you?" asked Saul. "I'm Jesus, the one you're trying to hurt. Go to the city, and I'll tell you what to do next." When Saul got up, he couldn't see.
Oh.
So the people with him had to guide him. Meanwhile, Jesus spoke to his friend Ananias in a vision and told him to go and find Saul.
Huh?
"Isn't that the guy who's trying to kill us?" said Ananias. "Go," Jesus replied. "He's the one I've chosen to spread my message far and wide." So Ananias found Saul.
Ah, welcome.
And prayed for him to be filled with God's Holy Spirit. Then scales fell from Saul's eyes.
Wow.
And he could see again. From that day on, Saul, who God later renamed Paul, couldn't stop telling people about the wonderful things Jesus had done for them. Many heard his powerful story and followed Jesus.
A lovely, historically accurate account of the conversion of Paul there. I start with that really because I was kind of reflecting on what faith transitions might mean in Christianity, and I think the conversion of Paul looms large. But of course, faith transitions don't have to mean that you kind of go out, you sort of completely change your life, you change the direction of your life and what you do. And so I also wanted to share with you guys this, if it's going to come up. Tech issues. There we go. This quote by Rumi, who is a Sufi mystic, a part of Islamic mysticism, who was around in the 13th century, says, "Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I am changing myself." So it may be that, in fact, faith transitions are more about getting to know ourselves, and getting to know the role that we play in our own lives, rather than completely going out, changing our names, and setting out on the road to talk about Jesus. The next quote that I want to share with you guys comes from the author of The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, C.S. Lewis. And he's also known as being this guy who has a very famous conversion. He famously kind of falls on his knees and he accepts after a long, long time that Jesus is Lord. And lots of people love to talk about that quote. This isn't the quote actually that I've chosen, because I thought this one was rather more interesting about his transition. And I suppose really what I was reflecting on it was that we often think of transitions as being something that we long for. They're very positive, they're very welcome. C.S. Lewis actually describes himself as the most dejected, reluctant convert in all of England. Drug, what a great word, into the kingdom, kicking, struggling, resentful, and darting his eyes in every direction for a chance of escape. It wasn't something necessarily that he was looking for or felt that he needed. Leanne has shared also this great quote by Rach Jackson, who is a black female theologian in the States, who talks really to the need for faith through the hard transitions in life. She says, "Some days faith is the only fabric I can hold on to. I dig my nails in until it rips." And sometimes we can see actually that the faith that we ground ourselves in is not enough necessarily to hold the transitions we're going through, and perhaps it needs to change shape because of that. And then finally, the last quote that I wanted to leave you guys with really, again, is from another black American theologian, a very famous one, Martin Luther King, the civil rights activist. And what I was thinking actually when we were prepping for this service was I wanted to leave us with a sense that actually faith transitions can also be very small. They don't need to be super high key. They don't necessarily need to be life-changing for them to be legit and for them to be important. And so Martin Luther King, I love this quote, says, "Take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step." So, I think some really nice reflections. I'll hand over now to Leanne and our lovely panel.
Thank you, Sarah. So, if I could encourage my lovely panelists to come and join me on stage. Yes, give them a round of applause. Can you? Yes, I can hear myself now. There's a lot of glasses, earrings, microphone. There's a lot going on, but hopefully we'll be okay. So if you two share this one, that would be amazing. So Sarah's done an awesome job of teeing up this panel and thinking about what we're going to be exploring together, the ups and downs of a life of faith. The idea behind these panels is to help us think about where God is during changes in our lives, to build our empathy muscles, to relate to people with different lived experiences, and to get to hear from different voices in our community. And I've been really looking forward to this one because I think it's really easy to feel like we're alone in some of these things when our beliefs are shifting, even in a church where we're open to wrestling with doubt. There's still a lot to unlearn about expressing those things, and it still feels a bit naughty to say those things. And also, whenever we have a newcomer's meal, Dave will ask everybody, when they introduce themselves, to say, "What brought you to One Church?" And so Dave and Sam and I get to hear all these amazing stories about what's brought everyone here. And if you're lucky enough to be on the same newcomer's meal as someone, you get a snippet of their story, but you don't all get to hear all of that. So just a little taster is for you to hear from some members of our community this morning, and encourage you maybe in journey groups if they're meeting this week, or just in conversations that you're having. If you don't know someone's story about what brought them to One Church, do ask. One of our panel that we'd planned for this morning is unfortunately unwell, and so I am going to weave a little bit of my own story in, just because they were particularly bringing the perspective of someone who hadn't grown up in church, and I want to make sure, I know I'm kind of 15 years in now, but I remember when I first started coming to church, it's really easy to feel like, oh, everyone's just been here since they were a kid, and that is quite a disorienting perspective. So I'm just going to bring a little bit of that angle in, but we've got lots of different perspectives and stories. So enough from me. I'm going to just ask everybody to introduce themselves and to give a bit of a potted history of their faith journey, like what was the faith environment that they grew up in, big changes, and how they ended up at one church. Can we start with you, Emma, and come along this way?
I'm really nervous. I'm Emma, and I grew up in a Christian family. We went to a really small little traditional Baptist church, and I couldn't really say like at what point my faith went from being like believing what my parents had told me to being my own actual faith. So I don't know when that happened, but at some point it did, because clearly I wasn't born with it, and it is my faith now. So somewhere that happened, but I don't know quite when. And so I've always had this faith that's kind of stuck with me and has been like really steady. But I've always struggled with the kind of tension between my church life and my like day-to-day real life outside of church. So like especially at secondary school, I never had any Christian friends, and kind of what I was being told to live like at church and what my kind of real life, like, it sort of didn't really marry up. And when I was at university, I swung really wildly. I feel like the 3 years I was at university, I swung really wildly between trying really hard to kind of commit to this church thing that I was supposed to be like a proper Christian, and then the next year I'd be like, no, this is how I'm going to, and it was when I look back at it, it was completely crazy. And then once I got married and had children, I was in again like a kind of quite conservative evangelical church, but that sort of tension didn't bother me so much. It was still there, that kind of what was being spoken about in church on Sundays was not quite the same as my faith that I held myself, life was really busy, so it didn't really kind of get in the way in the same way it did when I was a teenager and at uni. Anyway, and then I don't know what exactly happened, whether I changed or the church changed, but it just seemed to get more and more frequently that there would be sermons on a Sunday where things were said that really made me feel really uncomfortable, that I really didn't like and didn't agree with. And I kind of tried to push that aside a little bit, and it was quite hard. But then it really came to a head when the church was getting an ethos statement together to put on the website, kind of stating exactly what it believed about everything. And I think church clarity is really, really important, so I think it's really good that the church was doing that. I just really couldn't ascribe to the clarity that they were going with, and I got to a point where I cannot do this. But it took me a little while to leave, and in that time, I was listening to lots of One Church podcast talks, and kind of thinking there is a church nearby that, like, relatively local, that has a belief that sort of seems to match my own. This is incredible. And so eventually I managed to leave, got off the rotors that I was on, and yeah. And since I've been here, it has been like a real breath of fresh air. I feel like I can be myself. I feel a lot more integrated, like as a person, that I can just be me. There's not like my church life and my real life. There's just like my life and my faith is all just one thing now. Is that too long?
That's
Sorry.
amazing. Thank you. Let's go to Maddie.
I'm Maddie, and my background in church is, I was raised in church. My parents are Christian. My dad's actually a vicar, so he got ordained when I was about 12 or 13. So I was vicar's daughter throughout secondary school, which you can imagine had its perks. My nickname was Gandhi for about 4 years, so that says enough, I think. He's not Christian, but, you know. So, yeah, it's been through a lot of ebbs and flows in that sense. I think my dad he works with C of E, and he's loved to ruffle feathers. So from a very young age, he loved kind of sort of giving me like theological ammo for things that I didn't agree with and stuff like that. And he kind of pushed me to question things and ruffle feathers, which I think is brilliant. And I'm really glad that I was kind of, I guess, raised with that perspective where even though I got to experience a lot of different church scenes, it made me fairly, I guess, quite critical. And like you were saying, that feeling of like when things don't sit right, I kind of knew to talk about that and like raise it, which I think is quite lucky. So yeah, it's been through a lot of ebbs and flows in that sense. And then I came to Brighton about 5 years ago now, and it kind of took a bit of a back step a little bit, I guess. I think I just stopped connecting with my faith generally. Back where I grew up, it was very community-based. I kind of went to church growing up a little bit, but then it was all like family friends that didn't really feel like they belonged in the churches they were at, and we all kind of came together. And still, when I go back to Bournemouth, that group of 40, 50 people sort of thing that we're all friends with is still all a bit of a collective. So it was very kind of community-based faith. It's just in people's lounges and stuff like that, which was lovely. And like fostering was a big part of that as well, because my family fostered growing up, and that was a big part of the community, because I think my parents were inspired by some Christian friends of theirs who are wonderful to do that. And so it was all kind of one mixed thing. But yeah, when I came to Brighton, it kind of took a bit of a backseat. And eventually I think I was feeling like I needed that connection and that community again. And just those conversations, because that's what I love having, is conversations around faith. And my dad was like, oh, I've heard of this place, One Church, and I feel like it would be up your street. And I came here a few times, and I really liked it, but I was a second-year student, so, I apparently had other priorities, like going out and going to bars and stuff like that, going on first dates, things. But I eventually, when I was doing my teaching degree, I kind of decided I wanted to work with kids, but not in a school setting. And around my final year, me and my housemate had lovely Anna, who a lot of you may know, move in with us from spare room. We'd never met her before, and our first kind of day hanging out with her, found out she went to Greenbelt. So that was a lovely moment. And I was like, oh, brilliant. And she was looking for a local church. And even though I hadn't actually been through this door in about a year or so, I'd kind of said like, oh, you should try out One Church. They're really, really cool. And then now she is massively a part of this community. And then it was her that said, oh, they're actually looking for this children's worker role. So it was all quite a nice flow of getting into this community, which I really like that story. So yeah, that's kind of the vague background of where I come from with faith stuff. So yeah.
Amazing. Thanks, Maddie. We have a round of applause. Very good. Great. Stella.
Is this on? There we go. I'm Stella, and I was born in the States. I was born in South Carolina, which is a part of what's called Bible Belt America, and that's a bit of the States that's just like conservative evangelical Christianity is basically universal. And I was really afraid I'd have to kind of explain what conservative Christianity is and what it's like, and I could be here for an hour and still, like, if you've never experienced it, like, I don't think you ever will fully understand what it's like to kind of grow up in that environment. So I'm sorry if you're a bit vague on that, but I'm not going to be able to to go into detail. But yeah, I lived in the States till I was 7, lived in that Christian environment, and I think the effects of that lingered for a bit longer. But when I was 7, my whole family moved over to Brighton, and we moved directly into One Church. And I'm one of 6. There were 5 of us at the time. I remember Dave lined us all up in front of the stage and put his hand on each of our heads and introduced us by name. Yeah, and my story is quite simple, really. I've been here ever since. It's been 14 years now.
Amazing, thank you. Let's give Stella a round of applause as well. And just for that context, I'll very briefly say, for those who don't know, so I'm Leanne. I'm one of the ministers here. I grew up with like pretty much no church background. I have this really strong memory of asking my mum why I wasn't christened when I was around 7, and she's like, well, I don't believe, so it would be hypocritical, but you can believe whatever you want. You could be a Buddhist if you like it was like really exotic or something. And it was only in my mid-20s that I started to explore faith. I think I'd been attracted before, but not quite been ready to jump in, and various things lined up that I ended up exploring. Did Alpha, spent a bit of time in different churches, and then when I moved to Brighton, just really wanted to find somewhere that really aligned with my values. And I've been here for 5.5 years now, and started training for ministry a couple of years ago. So that's my potted history for those who I've not met. I think we've got a few visitors today. So you talked about that ebb and flow, Maddie, and I think what would be really easy in a panel like this is to kind of create the impression that these things are super linear, that we we just keep moving. I'm sure if I asked you these questions in 2 weeks' time, we'd all get different answers. So I'm interested to hear how you deal with the ebb and flow of your faith journey. How has that been for you, Maddie?
I think I've definitely gotten more used to it because, growing up in that environment, you change every 5 seconds, like you were saying. And I used to find it really uncomfortable when things changed and when, my perception of things or my faith was changing or anything like that. Whereas actually now I'm realizing that I always feel better after something shifts or something kind of alters a bit, and it's scary in that transition. Because being confused or questioning things is a bit of a scary thing. But ebbs and flows in life, I think I've kind of come to that, kind of surrendering of that's all right, and that it's, it's normal, and I don't think we're supposed to have it all figured out. I think that's what my dad always said to me when I was like, oh, I think my belief in this is changing, or I don't know what I think about this. He was like, you're not supposed to, sort of thing. So I think I've definitely found a bit more comfort in the unknown of the ebbs and flows, and knowing that there is a place for everything. There's a place for a bit of distance from things, and there's a place for throwing yourself into things, and all and everything in between is kind of okay. I think it's taken me a good minute to get there, and when I'm going through transitions, it's easier said than done to tell yourself that, but yeah, I feel like that's kind of what I would say about the ebb and flow.
Thank you. How about you, Stella?
Yeah, I really agree. I guess, for a bit of context, my first real ebb was quite similar to yours, Emma. It was when I first went into sixth form. And obviously, growing up in the States, in this place where everybody is just a Christian and it's just a given. And then I moved directly into a church, and that was the bulk of my social life and social interaction for quite a long time, particularly because I was homeschooled. So my first experience of standardized education was in sixth form, and it was the first time I really felt like I'd gone from being in a religious majority to being in a religious minority, actually, and having my beliefs kind of just implicitly and explicitly questioned, and being labeled as the Christian girl, and having to question for the first time in my life why it was that I believed what I believed. And I'm going to shout out Anton here because he is a really good friend of mine now, but he was my youth leader at the time. And it was just sort of perfect timing. I think it was just post-COVID, and that was right when he joined the church as well. And he just always made it really clear that the ebbs are as much a part of it as the flows. And I think we like to not, for some weird reason, faith is supposed to be this linear thing where you just believe and believe and believe your whole life and you never have any moments of doubt. But Anton has this line that I think about quite a lot, and it's that faith is the opposite of certainty. And I just find that so comforting and kind of affirming when I'm having these moments of doubt, that how cool is it actually that I'm not certain, but that I'm choosing this consciously.
Yeah, fantastic. And yeah, what a gift to have Anton as a youth worker. We'll come back to that. But I'm interested, I mean, there was a lot of noises of recognition, and when you said about getting yourself off of the rotors to leave your old church, Emma. And so I'm interested a bit about, changing church, how you've navigated the relational side of that. Because it can be difficult when our beliefs shift or how we're practicing our faith shifts and other people are at a different point in their journey.
Yeah, it was hard. I mean, for the end of my time at my last church, I used to feel so not myself, and I used to kind of go in, do Sunday school, and just leave straight away, and I didn't stop to talk to anybody because I just felt so difficult. But I had some really close friends there, and when I left, I went and I saw all of them, and I was quite surprised and really pleased that when I explained to them why I was going, that they weren't really surprised, and they did kind of know more about me than I thought they did. So that was really lovely. And then since then, I've stayed in touch with my closest friends. There's a lot of people that I kind of was my church family, and I was sad to be leaving, but who I haven't stayed in touch with, which I think is interesting and sad and strange. But the people who I was sort of really close friends with, I have stayed in touch with, and we meet up. We used to see each other every Sunday, and now we meet up occasionally. We mostly talk about kind of family and this kind of stuff, and they talk about things that are going on for them in church. And it's really lovely to hear, and their faith journeys are really beautiful as well, and I love hearing about that. I don't tend to volunteer talking about how my faith is going because of the kind of tensions, the kind of discrepancies there between what I think and what they think. And but obviously, if they were to ask any direct questions, I'd be really happy to say this is what I think. But yeah, so it's an interesting one. Sorry.
No, it's good. And I think that relational stuff, and you've all talked about this experience of going to sixth form or going to university and realising that your beliefs are different. And I think I've had quite no one in my family is a Christian. My mum thought it was a phase. So I thought that's the only reason I'm training for ministry, just to prove that it's not a phase. But she's like, oh yeah, your dad used to let the Jehovah's Witnesses in and ask them all these annoying questions, and she's like, it'll just be a phase. And I think I joked a couple of weeks ago that I used to say, oh yeah, I just like singing. It's just it's just fun to sing. And so it is interesting, and it's interesting what you were saying about not kind of pushing too hard with your friends from before, because I feel that with my family, I don't want to alienate them, because often the only Christian voices that people see in the media are very extreme, so I don't want to alienate them. And as time has gone on, you can open up conversations, but if you my personal experience is if you too forward in that, can be more difficult. So even though it's quite different, there's a similarity there of that, meeting people where they are and building on that. What practices have supported you through periods of transition? I'm going to come back to you next, Maddie.
Practices, the main thing I kind of thought of when we got this question was when I was kind of a teenager and I was diving into my faith a little bit deeper, I think, different camps I was going to, stuff like that, I found that prayer for years and years and years, I realized more recently that I think a lot of it for me was very desperate, and I was quite an angsty, emotional teen, as many of us are. I'm still quite angsty and emotional, but it meant that a lot of my kind of what I was calling connection with my faith in forms of prayer or whatever was very desperate, was very pleading, was very sad, and that is the case for a lot of people. And And I think I've shifted in the last few years to kind of more like meditation, which I really like. And I think I find I'm less desperate within that, and I'm more just like connecting, which I really, really like. And I find it's much more peaceful for me. It much more makes me feel like faith is just a part of me rather than this thing that I'm turning to when I'm sad or when I'm confused or anything like that. And that more, I guess that slightly holistic side of it with meditation and with a bit of movement and all of that sort of thing helps me to actually, feel connected to my faith, feel like I'm spending time with this thing that I'm focusing on sort of thing rather than just kind of asking for things because I don't know what else. I guess I kind of never really knew what else, I guess, prayer and connection could be in that sense. So that main shift for me has been, seeing it almost more as a meditative thing, and that helps me to kind of, connect more with what's going on in my head and all around me, that sort of thing.
Thank you. How about you, Stella?
For me it's family prayer, which I only realized through thinking about this question, actually. It was quite nice. But I guess like having experienced wildly different versions of church, and also from an early age having gone to a couple of different churches, family prayer has remained the thing that's most kind of consistent and steady in my faith journey. So we actually went to 2 different churches in the States. So we went to this one very tiny liturgical one, kind of more for like the theology, and then for community we went to this like big, I think, Baptist megachurch. And so I guess for as long as I can remember, I've never felt like church dictates what you're supposed to believe, because I was seeing 2 completely different versions of the same faith enacted before me every Sunday. And then, obviously moved to one church, which is like different in and of itself. And family prayer has just remained incredibly consistent, and I've realized that, I've never relied on church to kind of tell me how I'm supposed to practice my faith, and I've always cared much more as a child about what my family thought, and it just feels, I think in general, it just feels like a more intimate and authentic expression of my religion.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Stella. Interested to hear how people's image and concept of God has shifted over time. Can I come to you, Emma?
I think my image of God was formed when I was really little. So when you're little and you're at church, you hear that God is love, and you like that. And I've kind of held on to that and stuck with that. But then, like I was saying, that's been kind of my faith and my understanding of God. But then at church, as I've grown up, it's yes, God is love, but sometimes that love might not look quite like how you think it should look. And, there's that bit in the Bible where there's the thing where it said, if you as human people know how to give your children good gifts, how much more your Father in heaven will be good. It just means your Father in heaven is going to be even more loving, not loving in a way that is different to what you really think. It's what you think is loving, God's going to do that even more than that. Not you might think that's loving, but actually, and you might think this isn't loving, but really it. So the way that my image of God has changed over time is just getting more and more confident in that kind of first image that I had, that God is love, and and kind of stripping away that angry, critical God of fear, and just sitting with that God of love. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love that coming full circle. When we were talking about childlike faith, and you shared some beautiful insights from your teaching, and so actually that coming full circle to how you first conceived of God when you were small was really beautiful. Thank you, Emma. Maddie?
I think that when I was younger, I had a very, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate, a very kind of masculine view of God, in terms of very masculine, very father figure. this big cozy father that's going to help you and save you in every walk of life and all that sort of thing. So it's a very comforting notion, I think, when you're a child or a teenager. And then as I grow up, I start to dismantle that a bit and think about why I'm thinking that. And I mean, church is filled with men up the front, so it's no wonder that I think so many people see it as this big kind of masculine thing. And don't get me wrong, I love men, but this this divine, incredible thing that is supposed to be creator of all and is nature and is love, I'm like, do we think that's a man? That just, it feels, and again, with the kind of meditation and the connection, it just feels so like kind of Mother Nature-y to me, I guess, now. And that kind of, I mean, I was speaking to Anton about this a while ago, because in youth they have all the different names that they use for God, and they can kind of pick different names every day. And the one that really stuck to me that Anton used was flow. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, it's all around us, and it is love, and it is energy, and it is everything. And I think I've come a long way in dismantling it from this masculine figure in the sky that fixes everything to, okay, this is the world, and this is creation, and this is love, and this is energy, and we all have that, regardless of what our label is, whether you call yourself Christian or more spiritual or whatever. It's kind of like, it's all that same love and energy, and I think that's more what I've tapped into in the last few years, which I really like, but is quite a big shift. And that was quite a scary shift in terms of being like, why don't I believe in this same God anymore? And it's because I don't really see it in that way anymore, but I'm kind of settled with that. And again, I'm happy with that transition that I've made there. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. Is there anything that you miss from before, Stella, kind of the different experience that you had growing up in the Bible Belt when you were small?
Yeah, I went back for a visit recently, and it was really intense. It felt like in a lot of ways I had to hide some of the most fundamentally important things about myself, because to my conservative Christian family, those were just not up for debate. And I had a friend who asked me, like, why on earth I wanted to go back there, basically, and what was the value that I saw in revisiting that part of my life and that part of myself. And I think like almost the refreshing thing about growing up in this place where religion is just a given truth, like gravity or something, is just being able to talk about God anytime, anywhere, just completely openly, free of judgment, very casually a lot of the time. And I feel like in a kind of secular country and in this very secular city, we as Christians often feel like we have to create special spaces for ourselves, like journey groups, where this is where it's socially acceptable to talk about Jesus, and everywhere else. Like I have Christian friends where I feel very awkward bringing up God in a conversation casually. And so I really miss that, and I love that about the States, and that part of the States, I guess, is there's just this real sense of faith and community, and you're able to kind of walk the walk together, which I think is beautiful.
That's great. And I think in a community like this, where a lot of us have come from different types of church, and some of us have been hurt by church, or we just haven't quite, it's easy that we kind of go too far the other way and we lose sight of what was beautiful. So that's, really great. How about you, Emma? What do you miss from before?
Well,
it's very dramatic background music.
Yeah. It's not a dramatic answer, though. I was on the flower arranging rota, and I miss flower arranging. I mean, there's not much call for like badly arranging flowers in my normal day-to-day life. So I do miss flower arranging. The other thing I used to really love, I used to find like Bible journaling was a really good way for me to connect with God. So like doing lots of art in my Bible, and but that's really for me quite rooted in that context. So I've found it quite tricky to bring it into how my faith is now. So I'm hoping that's going to kind of come back in some way, but it feels not quite, it doesn't quite sit right at the moment, but I miss that connection. It was a really good way of connecting.
great. Thank you. So I've got one last question for everyone, and then we'll wrap up. I guess it relates to the previous question, Stella, and you've talked a bit about Anton. Like, how would you describe your experience of growing up in this church? I guess you're kind of maybe like the first generation of people who have grown up in one church and now an adult, and since one church was formed. So just really interested in your perspective.
Yeah, there's so much I could say. But yeah, I guess I feel like in some ways I'm kind of a poor poster child for like an ex-conservative Christian, because I was just so young that I haven't had the experience of having to really like question those beliefs. I just moved out of that at 7 and was just dropped into one church and was told like all of that stuff that is your whole entire religious world is like, it's one church is very polar to that in a lot of ways. And so yeah, in a way, like had this really seamless transition and had the luxury of never having to unpack any religious baggage at all, really, and just being told like, this is kind of more sustainable, this is better. And obviously like really agree with that. But yeah, it was like kind of got whiplash from that transition as well in some ways. And it is really strange when there is a sermon about deconstructing this part of conservative Christianity that I have experienced, but also have no baggage around. It's this weird, it's just this weird paradox of, on the one hand, being able to relate all too well, and on the other hand, just not feeling the negative emotions that I know some people in the room will feel when they hear these terms and these things.
Thank you. Emma, are there any areas that you'd like to dig into more? I know you love reading and listening to podcasts and things. Are there any particular themes that you're exploring at the moment?
Well, every week when I come to church here, I always have like my notebook with me, and like every week I've got a list of people that I want to read and people that I want to look up and books I want to read. So I don't really know where to start with it all, in all honesty. So yeah, so kind of just following up on lots of those different things. I am gutted that I didn't do the Bible, the Reading the Bible, the Reading the Bible course that was happening here at the beginning of the year. I'd really like, if that was ever on again, I would love to do that. So just listening more and more and reading more and more stuff really widely to just keep expanding my understanding of God and faith. Liberation theology, that's been like really new to me and like mind-blowing. That's a thing. Just
Great.
lots and lots of stuff.
Thank you. And what thinkers or content has helped you in your faith journey, Maddie?
I hope I've interpreted this question right in terms of like, I think that having conversations with people is one of the most important things for me in my faith journey. I think growing up having so many conversations with my dad about it all was always really helpful. He actually a while ago, he's going to hate that I say this, but he's written a few books just for like family and friends and stuff around kind of faith stuff. And there was one that he wrote, and it was just so beautiful, and it was quite like radical in this kind of dismantling the church type vibe, but it was really cool and really interesting. And I think, reading things and having conversations with people that kind of give me new perspective is one of the most powerful things to me, I think, because it's beautiful when you hear something that is completely wildly opposite to what you think, and it's this whole new perception that you get to hear. Or if you find out that two people cross paths who come from completely different upbringings and they have the exact same idea about something, and that's amazing as well. And so I find that kind of the most interesting part of it, I think. Even just having conversations with strangers. Mine and my partner's first ever date meeting each other, we had about a 2-hour conversation about theology, which I don't think he was expecting. He's not at all religious. But it was really interesting. And he was like, I've never had a conversation like this with someone when I first meet them. And I was like, yeah, it's fun, isn't it? So yeah, I think those sort of conversations are what kind of like really get me like amped up and passionate about things. And so, yeah.
Stand and sing a final song together. Letting go, getting lost in you. shame in looking like a fool when I give you what I can't keep and take a hold of you. 'Cause there's no shame in looking like a fool when I give you what I can't keep and take a hold of you. And more than words, more than good ideas, I found your love in the open field. Oh, more than words, more than good ideas, I found your love in the open fields. More than words, more than words, more than good ideas, I found your love in the open field. Oh, more than words, more than good ideas, I found your love in the open field. Oh, from the head to the heart, you take me on a journey of letting go, get lost in you. 'Cause there's no shame in looking like a fool when I give you what I can't keep and take a hold of you. And take a hold of you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for being with us. Just as we open with a collective prayer, we're going to close with a collective prayer or liturgy. We're going to do, I think, the grace, if we've got those up. Great, thank you. Oh, the first slide that you showed, yeah. Thanks very much. So we've got a bit of a tradition at one church. We look meaningfully into each other's eyes as we say this. We should to wish everyone in the community this grace. May the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God, the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us all evermore. Amen. Thank you so much, everyone. Go well.